We are recording.
All right.
Another installation of Live, Laugh, Love. I've realized that like the last few shows, I've completely forgot to just say that it's Live, Laugh, Love.
Hey,
And
you
I
gotta get
think
the
we've
promotion in there. Come on.
great. We've now solidified it that it's going to be Live, Laugh, Love. But Luke Leibovich on Live, Laugh, Love. There's a lot of L's going on.
Definitely.
How's it going?
Everything's good. Yeah, we were chatting and
Yeah,
yeah, been everything's pretty good out here. I mentioned it we're experiencing this thing called a drought, but we had some rain today, so we were pretty excited about that. That was the big news out here for sure.
man. Have you switched what teams you watch at all now? Like are you still kind of the Midwest Vikings, Packers, Bears kind of a thing, or now is it all, Chargers, Rams that you end up trying to catch a game for?
Yeah, good question. I think I have two answers to that, honestly. So one, diehard Vikings. I mean,
Yeah,
that just never changes. I mean, it doesn't matter. Uh, so the one thing is it's harder to watch out here, honestly, where it's,
totally.
two things. One, games come on at 10 a.m. So it's a little bit different. And then two, we almost never get the Vikings unless they're on national TV and like the prime time slots.
Sure.
So normally I'll just meet up with a buddy. Thankfully, I have a buddy out here who's also a Vikings fan, so that's very convenient. And so we'll normally meet up at a bar somewhere and catch the games. But I will say it's definitely different, going to get wings or something at 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
But you do what you got to do. So the only thing I would say that's different is I probably have become more of a Chargers fan just because I get all the games. Herbert's my quarterback now, obviously,
Yeah.
and
But it's
so
also got to be, when you're walking around Minnesota, everyone's just kind of talking Vikings, Packers, Bears. Like somebody's a
yep,
fan of it. So I have to imagine it's the same on the coast where it's like everyone's talking about one of those coastal teams that they love, they probably grew up with. And so you got
yes.
to at least know something about them.
So the interesting thing with like LA specifically is that there's such like a weird you like even if you like go see a Rams game or something, you'll see like Packers jerseys and you'll see like random jerseys from everybody. So it's such like a there's it's such a melting pot. There's so many like transplants, including myself, that move
Right.
here and stuff. That
Right.
yeah, it's actually not. I'd say the Rams have a pretty hardcore following. The Chargers really don't as much, especially moving from San Diego and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually I don't know. It's like all over the board with kind of what who cheers for what team and stuff, and you never know kind of what if you just go to like a sports bar to watch the games. It's not like there's going to be like 80% Vikings fans. It's going to
Right.
be like 20% Rams fans, 15% Chargers, and 6% everybody else. So it's always pretty interesting.
That's super cool. I wouldn't have thought about that, but it is such a melting pot in those areas that really
Hmm.
even like maybe it's your dad's team was, you know, uh uh he came from like New York, and so it's like you're a Jets fan because your dad was a Jets fan
Hmm.
and he ended up, yeah. So I wouldn't have thought about that, but that's such a good point. Have you been to the
Hmm.
new stadium?
Yeah. So last year, my buddy Logan and he was up at the Vandenberg Air Force Base and came down. He's from Iowa originally. I went to college with him.
Mm,
And so he actually came down. We went to the game last year against the Chargers. So it was super cool. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. I
yeah.
think it was, a couple billion over budget and all, but a couple years late. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, it was super. It's interesting. So it's in Inglewood, which like kind of historically was, a little bit kind of more of a questionable area, but
Yeah.
they've pumped, I mean, literally billions of dollars into it. And it's actually in a really nice spot now. And yeah, we were actually just there a couple nights ago. There was a concert at the YouTube Theater, which is actually like right on site. And even just in the last year, I couldn't believe like how much it's changed because I'm never really kind of over in that area otherwise.
Sure.
But yeah, it's that whole area is just like booming now. It's really interesting to see.
I heard the commentators. I must have had like the Rams game on or something. I know that I watched Cooper Cup last week, just demolished me. So but they were saying, and they were kind of doing like a pass-through view, that it's a completely open air stadium that has a roof on it, which I was just like,
Yeah.
that is the coolest.
Yeah, it was really so it's like it's open air at like the ends of it and stuff.
Right.
And so the weird thing is I'm trying to think if it was September maybe when I was there last year. So like, just 13 months ago or something.
Right.
It was just a brutally hot day. It was like 95 or something. So even in the stadium,
Right.
it's still like crazy hot and stuff.
Yeah, you can have
Which
the opposite problems of Minnesota, where
yes,
here we have to make sure that it's not 0 degrees. You have to make sure that it's
yep,
not 100, but I guess they don't
yep,
really have anything that they can do. But
yeah,
so cool that it's, the elements are still something that can come into play, but
mhm,
you're guaranteed that you're going to be able to play.
yep, yeah, 100% of the time. So
So
that's a
cool.
good change. Yep,
So
but
cool.
mhm,
No, I know that I am intrigued by this, but I just want like 5 minute, what has your life been like in the last few years? Because I know, I said it for Rizzo too,
mhm,
and he's just in Iowa, where like
mhm,
a lot of the guys are in Rochester. I'm up in the cities, and sometimes I feel like I'm even disconnected from them from
mhm.
time to time. So what's been happening with you?
Yeah, man, broad question, of course.
I know. Take it however you want and do
Yeah,
as much time or as little time as you'd
yeah,
like.
yeah. No, you're good. So yeah, actually, Allison, my wife, and I were just talking. It was crazy because it's just about a month ago. It was 6 years that we moved out here, which I can't believe. I mean, it's just it is literally just flown by. So everything's been going well. So when we moved out here, I started a small investing company. So we're structured as a hedge fund. I always hate to use that term though, because for one, we don't hedge anything, and so we started that about 6 years ago and have just been working on kind of building that up. So I spend the most of my day just like reading and researching, maybe talking on, with people on the phone about, different industries. It can kind of go in a lot of different directions, but the vast majority of my time is spent reading, just in whether that's, books, newspapers, magazines, just kind of different sources about, like I said, kind of different industries that I might be interested in at the time. And so that's been fascinating. That was obviously a huge kind of left turn. My background was in engineering back in, at Iowa State and stuff, but it was something I was just always super passionate about and just loved doing. And just like on a day to day basis, there's a lot of pros and cons to starting your own company, as anybody who's done that can say. Um, I absolutely love the freedom and independence. For me is absolutely incredible, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. I hope to do this for the next 40 plus years. And but there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of downsides with it too, of constantly having to like figure out everything on your own. And
Mhm.
with me, like I never dealt with like lawyers and accountants before and legal structures and different stuff. And so like that was all literally just like stuff I had to like teach myself and kind of learn. So that was really difficult, I would say, especially in the first couple of years. But over time, like anything else, you kind of figure out, what you're doing and how to get it going. And so yeah, it's been a wild journey. Everything's going really well. Just super pumped about it. And yeah, kind of see where where the next 6 years take us.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of nice. So Allison, she actually works for Cargill, based in the cities,
Oh yeah.
obviously. Yeah, and so that's been super nice for her. So she works remotely out here, obviously, but she travels back to Minneapolis quite a bit, where her family's from. So we're both from Minnesota. So that's kind of been nice. I've for both of us, where she can kind of get back and see friends and family, and I've certainly tagged along too and stuff. But I don't know. All of our family is still in Minnesota. A ton of our friends are
Mhm.
still in Minnesota, so like we still have super strong roots there. And so yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't trade that for anything.
That's awesome. And thank you. When you moved out there and
Hmm.
you say that you started the company, is
Hmm.
or was it a sole proprietor? Like you started it yourself, just had a vision and a dream and wanted to be out there. There wasn't like a partnership or anyone else that you joined?
Yeah, 100% just me and Allison
Wow.
too. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
it was a huge move. We literally, we were living in St. Louis Park at the time. We
Yeah.
literally moved, through loaded everything into a U-Haul, towed our car behind it, and drove across the country to move out here. I was really lucky at the time. I've been working with a buddy, Glenn Trez, and at General Mills in
Mhm.
Chanhassen, and so he had actually happened to move out here randomly about 3 months or so before I did, like totally unrelated. He started working for SpaceX, and so we actually ended up moving in, rooming with him and his fiance. So we lived together for a couple of years, and he and I are still super super close. So that was kind of nice. Like at least we knew when we were moving out here.
Right.
Uh,
You have
I,
somebody. Yeah.
exactly. Yep. So that definitely helped quite a bit. And as we've learned, because we've moved around a decent chunk. So in the 6 years, we've probably moved about 4 times. And like the rental markets out here are just crazy, where it's like, I remember like when I was in college, like say at Iowa State, when, I would know in April where I was going to live that September. It's like I would have
Right.
like my lease set up and stuff. Out here, it's literally the first time when we started looking for a place to like move to and to live, we'd start looking like 2 months in advance. We're like, oh, that'll give some time, kind of get something figured out. And we were like talking to these leasing agents, and they were like, oh, cool. Like, oh, you guys want to move in? You guys seem great. Like, when do you want to move in? We're like, oh, like 2 months from now. They're like, why the hell are you looking right now? Like, this place is going to be gone like tomorrow or something.
Wow. And so it's
So,
just it's basically when you need to move, you
yep,
need to be able to move.
it immediately. So
Wow.
it's super stressful because literally every time we've moved, and the 3 or so times that we have, it's like our lease ends on say like 31st, and so
Yeah.
it's like it's like the 26th, and we literally don't know where we're going to live on the first yet. And it's like,
Wow.
well, hopefully this all works out. Or
Yeah.
but we moved into our current place. We're in Redondo Beach now. And we've lived here since last March, since like March 2021, and like we just love it here. Like it is, I think we'll be in like this specific space for quite a while now. So after
That's awesome.
moving a lot in the last 5-6 years, we're extremely happy to be settling down. And so that's been
Yeah,
really
that
great.
I mean that's so much to move and just to uproot
Hmm.
everything and put it
Hmm.
down. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Uh
it definitely makes you think about like you know stuff you want to keep and stuff you want to like how many
yeah,
times do I
especially
want
if
to
you're
move
moving it
this?
like
So
once a year
oh my
almost, and you're
gosh,
just
yeah,
like,
it
get
was
rid of it.
stressful. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
hopefully
God.
that's in our rearview mirror now. So
Good, good.
yep.
Well, it's great to hear that you're doing really, really well. What is the
Hmm.
most surprising thing since living in Cali? Like, what is
Hmm.
the most surprise like you did not think it would be that way, or you thought it would be different? Just like the one thing that was kind of shocking when you got out there.
Yeah, that's a great question. Man, there's been quite a few. One of the things I would say, and I'm always careful about saying this because I've lived in Minnesota for 18 years, but the weather is not always beautiful and perfect out here. Like that is a myth. So listen, I am, in December when it's 62, and I'm very grateful for that. But that is probably one thing I would say, that there's plenty of days where I don't know. I always had this image in my head of like, oh my God, it's gonna be like 78 and
Right.
sunshine
And
every single
perfect
day.
every
Yep.
day. Yeah.
And
It
there's
rains at three
stretches,
o'clock
yes.
every day until four
Yes.
o'clock, and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. There's stretches, and we're actually kind of coming off that. I'd say the nicest time of year for anybody that ever visits like SoCal particularly is kind of like late summer, early fall. So like this is generally, typically kind of the nicer time of year
Yeah.
where like almost every day it's like mid 70s and super sunny, really good for the beach. But it kind of depends too. One thing that also really surprised me is just like how differently a couple miles apart can be. So like if you're right on the coast, you get like all this kind of like overcast weather a lot of times. Whereas if you go like 2 or 3 miles inland, which isn't that much, it
Right.
can be like 20 degrees hotter and sunny there. Whereas like directly on the coast on the beach, it can be really different. So that was probably a big surprise.
Yeah. How
So and
Minnesotan of you to just be like, the most surprising thing was the weather.
yep, for sure, definitely.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So, this week, I mean, this last week was, we always start up with two things,
Mhm.
kind of upsets, crazy performances, anything like that that happened, and then we go into trades and acquisitions. So,
Mhm.
this last week for trades and acquisitions, at least, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I saw that Rizzo.
Yeah, I'm looking at the offers report,
Mhm.
and I didn't see this until now, but Robbie also put in a $26 bid. So
Oh, no way.
Rizzo
Wow, another tie.
nailed it. Right.
Yeah.
25 wouldn't have won it. 26, he must have been, I don't know exactly how waivers set up, if it's every week it resets. We were talking about that, I think, a week
Last
or
week.
two ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I remember that. Yeah.
And
Yep.
so, but whatever that is, it came true with you know, tight end.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
don't does he have one reception on the year?
Yeah. That's he has a lot of touchdowns for a one reception tight end.
Yeah, zero receptions last week. 3 rushing touchdowns tight
Yep.
end.
Yep. Gotta love it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yep. I have one random question actually. So I always
Yeah.
go to the offers report and stuff.
Yeah.
But then how do you see who else bids on it? That's one thing I haven't cracked, I guess.
So I have it up on my computer, and how it
Oh,
shows
okay.
is it might be a little bit different here. I will
I always look at my phone. It might be different
yeah,
on
because I look it on there
yeah.
too. It's a little bit different. It's not that much different, but I'll share it
Okay.
really, really quick.
Oh, yeah.
So it shows all of the offers that were made.
Uh-huh.
And so you can see, and then I don't know
Okay.
why it does this, but it's also not in order. So you have 3 Taysom Hill here, and then you have one down here
Okay. So it's by
for
like the dollar
Charlesworth.
bid amount, basically.
Right. Yep. And
Okay.
then so the 3 highest bids altogether were Taysom Hill, but 26
wow.
on these 2. And then it tells you unsuccessful added. And then these are just waivers. These aren't pickups or ads, because I
Yep,
think
sure.
today was a big day for just acquisitions as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jumping in after the wire. Yeah, one thing I have to
gosh.
say, I have to give it to Rizzo for fucking hitting the hammer and getting aggressive. I always enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, and you know, if it pays off that he is a tight end, well, he's got to be a tight end for the rest of the year. I don't think that they could ever be like, well, he's not catching the ball, he's now going to be a running back, like it was for quarterback to tight end. If he's scoring as a top 5 tight end on the year, $26 is a steal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right?
You know, I have a top 2 tight end right now, but I got him in like the 4th round. So like,
right.
yeah, if you can get like up for that type of production just for some waiver dollars, that's huge.
I guess that's a great thing to think about, is in terms of like waiver dollars and where you would have taken them in the draft. Like, what is that really like? Is, let's say, out of nowhere, who's the running back for Indy that just got hurt?
Taylor was.
Yeah. So imagine like he's out. Imagine it comes out and it's just like, oh, he's going to be back for the last like 4 games of the year, and he looks super healthy. Like, is that worth $50, $60, $70? Because
versus the number 1 pick and everything. Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for tight ends, especially when you're talking about the landscape of being like, it's hard to pick up right now 7 points on a week, right?
Definitely.
Like having 4 receptions for 30 yards is something that I would have taken.
That's quality. Yeah.
Right. It's quality. And
Yep.
if he's almost like going to be guaranteeing himself like 60 yards on the ground and a touchdown, that's worth so much more. So 26, I can't believe that he nailed it on the head.
I feel like this happens every year with Taysom. Didn't you have Taysom? Was it a year or 2 ago when he was at the quarterback?
Yes. And so I got the hack week where it was like he was still a tight end, but he was a starting quarterback for them. And so I got to start 2 quarterbacks, and it was just unfair. I won the week. Right. It was taking advantage of the situation the week after I could not. But yeah, I think and I think I paid up for him as well, not nearly this much, but it was also a 1 week hack where after that, who's starting him as a quarterback?
Definitely.
No, we play on ESPN, but I think Yahoo has him as a quarterback and tight end still.
Oh, really?
Right.
Well, he's going to be a running back come next week. So
yeah, versatile. Just have him flex. Yeah. But outside of that, like, there wasn't anything too crazy to me that happened. DJ Dallas, I actually looked for afterwards, and for $4, it's probably going to be nothing. But if he ends up, the Seahawks just play whoever's the hot hand. If he's suddenly the starting running back in Seattle, $4 is a crazy steal as well.
Definitely. What'd you think of Rizzo with Daniel Jones? And dropping Wilson and everything. Any thoughts on that?
I listened to a podcast, and they a lot of times they call that a landmine, where it's like you're dropping him because the name is so good that if you were to pick him up and put him in, you're just like, well, it's much better than, let's say, Carson Wentz. Like, Carson Wentz is also out there and is a person that I played the first 2 weeks, got like 30 points a week, and then just flatlined. And so
Mhm.
both these people to me are ones that it's the perfect action to drop them because
Mhm.
the name is just big enough for someone to be like, ah, my quarterback's on bye. I
Mhm.
need a guy for 1 week, and you put him in,
Yep.
and they suck.
Let's ride.
That's right. Yeah. It seems like he's absolutely delusional as
Yep.
well. Like it doesn't seem like his post-game efforts
Mhm.
really showcase what his team is doing.
Yep.
Like he just
It
seems
seems like he's so like
enthusiastic to
yeah,
lose.
he's so like mechanical of how like
Right.
I don't know. I feel like Russell Wilson's kind of somebody who's always like been so careful not to like say anything that like
Totally.
it's just so like inauthentic. It's just like I don't
That's a
know the things he
great way of putting
says.
it. It seems
Yeah,
very canned. It seems
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
yeah, I have you ever seen the movie Bull Durham? It's a older baseball
I
movie.
I shockingly have not seen Bull Durham, which I'm
Oh,
embarrassed to admit, but I shockingly
great
have
movie.
not. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. But there's, it's about this hotshot pitcher, but the catcher's kind of teaching him how to be a professional player, and one of them is
Hmm.
how to do interviews. And at the end of the
Hmm.
game, it's one of the lines that I still love the most out of anything, and it's one that his catcher taught him, and he just goes, when someone asks you like uh, what you think about the upcoming games, you just go,
Hmm.
sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. Like, right, it's
Uh-huh.
just canned and it's what everyone's
Yep.
expecting. But
Yep.
yeah, I feel like that's that is what we see from Russell Wilson now is
Hmm.
just
A lot of that.
weird. Yeah, I've
Yep.
never
I
seen the commercial, the Subway commercial,
oh yeah.
but I hear
Uh-huh.
it's super weird.
Yeah, uh-huh. I still listen to the Dan Patrick show. I don't know from like
Oh
Sports
yeah,
Center and
for
stuff. He has
sure.
a radio show and stuff. And so like Russell Wilson has come on there quite a few times. And like 99% of the time, it's just like that total like kind of like coach speak, but like worse somehow, where it's like, well, Dan, we played hard. We expect to have a good week next week. Hey, it's not the coach. It's on me. I take responsibility. It's just
Right.
like everything he says, I just like have a hard time believing anything he says. It's just kind of
Right. Right. It's almost like he's not allowed to say anything that he actually wants to say.
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I am just kind of looking through like
Hmm.
the drop of Conklin for James Cook. I thought
Hmm.
was kind of a good one, but I
Hmm.
Conklin is one of those, and Disley getting dropped as well. Those are both, I mean, for Hill, of course, those are both
Yep.
like quality tight ends.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
know Conklin did nothing this last week, but could
Yep.
still be good.
Yep.
And as for this last week's matchups, was there
Mhm.
any of them that really shocked you?
Yeah, so I would say in general, and I think I even like mentioned this like just going into the Sunday night game, but like the thing
Mm.
I was surprised about was that we didn't have any like super tight matchups going in to
Mm-mm.
like Sunday night and Monday night football. I feel like normally there's at least one or two where it's just super close.
Agreed.
But yeah, that was kind of a surprise. Yeah, I'm just taking a quick look. Yeah, so,
Yeah, we had three teams that their score started with an 8. I don't know
yeah,
the last time that like that happened, and we've gotten teams
yep,
into like the 70s, but Dale's team,
yep, Rizzo,
81, yep, Rizzo 82, and then 88
Scuds,
for Scuds.
yep.
It's like those are three stinker weeks, and when I look at their
Hmm.
teams, it doesn't seem like they should do that,
Yep. Well,
right?
especially Rizzo coming off the 200-point week or whatever. I mean, like
100%.
that's incredible.
I
I,
know.
I actually that's one thing I thought that was interesting. I think Rizzo and I are both 1-4,
Hmm.
and but like we have both had the top score in the week one time. So it's like
Right.
that. That's the thing. Like you gotta love and hate about fantasy football is like the inconsistency of it, where it's
Yeah.
like literally the week. I think it was maybe the second or third week when I had the top score in the league. I'm like, okay, here we go. Like I'm
Things are
turning around.
changing. They're
I'm
coming
ready
my
to
way.
go, and then
Yeah.
I've lost naturally. So
Yeah,
it's
I do
it's ups and
feel.
downs for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think like of course like you just said, you've had a high week.
Hmm.
Rizzo's had a high week. I think being 1-4 right now is somewhat bad luck
Hmm.
because
Same with
like I
you,
said,
right?
the
You're one and
teams
four,
are
right?
not. I'm 1-4 too, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's
And this week, before the Sunday night games, like if Cup wouldn't have had a very good game, it would have been close. He
hmm.
still would have won by far.
Hmm. Yep.
Like Dan still just tossed me around a little bit, but
Mhm.
It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
But he did get high score of the week, so it makes me feel just. But that is also
Mhm.
high score of the week this week was legitimately 53 points less than it
Yep.
was
Which
last
is
week.
crazy.
It's
Yep.
crazy. It's
Yep.
crazy. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've been like with my team, I've been super frustrated with, where like I haven't had a clunker of a week yet,
Yeah.
but like I haven't been like, I just haven't gotten enough points. I put it up a lot between like, the 105 to 125 range. And like, I feel like that's going to win. I know that last week you guys were talking about like reversion of mean and stuff. Like, I feel like that's going to win some games this year, but it just
100%.
hasn't happened yet. So,
Yeah. And we're 5 weeks in. We have
yep.
an extra game now compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And so being 1-4 now is a little bit better than it was a couple years
Mhm.
ago. But I also think that there will be some coming back to the mean. And I
Yep.
don't see like even Dale's team, like I
Mhm.
don't see them going winless. I
Yeah,
see
definitely not.
them having a few wins on the year. But I think that the 3 1-4 teams, I could see two of them making the
Mhm.
playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I
Right.
think all three of our teams are like solid and been right there in a lot of weeks. So,
Right.
uh,
And yeah, we've just had so many injuries. It will happen. Like wins will come. But
mhm.
yeah, it's always fun to watch it. I was glad to see that the 46ers came up with
Yeah.
one. But just like
Yep.
you were saying, they would have lost to like me. I think they would have
Mhm.
lost. Oh, they still would have beat you by 3 points, but
Yep.
like 120 plus points is
Yep. Like,
a pretty
normally
good amount.
that's yeah, like you got shot that week at least. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I'm part of this league called the Megalodon. It's
Hmm.
like 10,000 people. Have you heard of it before?
I've not.
Yeah, so
Is
it's
that from
these.
Shark Week way back in the day? The
Yeah.
Megalodon?
Yeah. So they
Nice.
started this and it's called like the Megalodon Bowl through the fantasy footballers, but it's the largest one ever and it's like 10,000 people, but it's
Holy
all
shit.
12 person leagues. But one
Hmm.
thing that they do that I love is they have you play your opponent and you play the average every week. So every week
Okay.
you're able to score 2 points, one against the
Okay.
average and
Uh-huh.
one against your opponent. So if you get
Oh, that's
literally
interesting.
right, so
Uh-huh.
if you play the highest points
Hmm.
and you lose, you lost, right?
Hmm.
Woe
Yep.
is me. But if you were above average, you still get a
Yep. You
point on
still
the
get
week.
something for that.
Right.
Yep.
And so yeah, I think it's a cool concept. And
You should bring that up for a new idea next year. I'm sure it'll get shot down, but
everybody always loves when I bring up new stuff, but that
yep.
one, because I honestly think for a lot of fantasy, and we've always done it just on merit and score,
Hmm.
but you can have like the seventh place can have the third highest
Yep.
points
Yep.
in
Hmm.
right. And so I've always thought that it would be fun to do like top four teams on their winning record, and then
Hmm.
two teams after those four on the highest amount of points scored.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was just looking at it, and stuff earlier today, and like,
Yeah.
so I noticed, right, I'm 1-4, and yet
Yeah.
I have like 8 or 9 less points than Dan, who's like tied for first place.
Right.
So like, it's just like a mix because so I'm in a college league, like with some like
Mm-hmm.
college friends and stuff too, and they had talked about going to like a top six and bottom six. I still like the week to week stuff where it's like that's
For
just kind of
sure.
like part of fantasy football. Like, oh man, you put up 160, somebody else put up 165, like that's just kind of how it goes.
Right.
But when you're on the other side of it though, and you've been putting up some points, you feel like then it's like, well, screw this sucks.
Yeah, because there's a really good chance that like right now you're 1-4, but
Mhm.
there's a chance that out of 10 points, you
Mhm.
could
Yeah,
be
could have some of those. Yeah.
yeah, you could be five and
Yeah,
five with 10
absolutely.
points.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you
Yep.
were beating the average most of the time, but you were just playing someone that just put up
Yep.
more points.
Crushing you.
Right.
Yep.
So
Well, I got your
those are
back on this one, Burgard. So when it comes up next year, you can count on me.
this is the point. This is the point where Chris turns this off. Like right.
Yeah. and delete.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll ask him like we'll have like a secret word like 20 minutes from now, and he'll be
Yep.
like, "Yeah, I didn't get there." After you
Yeah.
guys started talking about
Yep.
changes in the
Yep.
league,
He was out. He was
I
out.
was out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
I
yeah,
will
but
say one funny thing, just like so like I said, I'm in this other league with some college buddies and stuff, and much lower stakes, much less serious. But it's so funny, just ironically in that league, I'm literally 5-0 in that league. But the funny thing is, like every weekend, if Allison's gone somewhere and comes back on Sunday, she kind of comes in. She's like, "Hey, like, how's fantasy going this week? Are things going pretty well?" And literally, basically every week, I'm like, "Well, I won the college one, but the one I care about, I'm losing this week, or I have like a 30% chance to win or something." And so she thinks that's nuts, but
Molly is the exact same way. And now for like the last 3 years, so Molly called my dad and was
Mhm,
like, "Hey, I know that you're starting we're talking about starting a fantasy league for our family for like
mhm.
the Burgart side. Uh can you have it without Tim?" And he was just like, "Yeah, yeah, we can do that." And so like
Mhm.
I am not allowed to play in my family's league for the Burgarts, but my wife is in it. And I think right now
Uh-huh.
she's doing great in it. But now like,
Nice.
yeah, it's
Mhm,
it's fine
mhm.
because I'm losing a lot this year, especially in
Yep,
this league, which is
yep.
exactly what you said is exactly what our conversation is. No, I
Yep,
lost this week, babe. Well, aren't you in a
yep.
bunch of leagues? Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, but
Like,
there's
yeah, there's only one.
it's true. Like it's what Chris says always at the start of the year and stuff. But like it's true. Like I think for everybody, I assume.
Mhm.
I mean, 100% for myself. Like this is by far the most important league, and I don't know,
Yeah,
it's not even like the money. It's just like the bragging rights and everything,
that's it.
and just
That
like I
freaking
will
coat.
say like the group chat and stuff, just like the bragging rights and everything, and yeah, it's frustrating as hell, man. It pisses me off when I lose.
I can't remember who said it the other day, but they were just like, we have a pretty big buy-in for our league. 250 is nothing
Mhm.
to nothing to scoff at, but like it really is like being a part of the Discord and everything like that, which I don't care
Definitely.
how much it costs. Like
Yep.
it's so much fun to be a part of it, and people are always on there, and yeah, it makes it
Yep.
so
And
worth it.
honestly, I think it was something. I think Scuds actually said this like a couple of years ago in the group chat. It's always stuck with me. But he's like, we literally, when we were like looking for a new member and stuff, and he's like, we literally have like a very special thing. I mean,
Right.
it's so rare that this far out from everything. And like you said, I mean, like I haven't seen you, Burgard, in quite a while, honestly. And it's
Yeah,
like, but the fact that we can still like communicate and do this and like and be chatting on the group chat and like still like connected and stuff. Like,
totally.
I mean, when did we 15 years ago we graduated? Like,
I
that's
know.
nuts.
This year, 15
That's
years.
yeah, like that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I think that's super rare. And I don't know, I'm very grateful for it. So
Yeah,
especially,
no.
and I will say as somebody living like 2,000 miles away and stuff, like, I don't know, I really appreciate it. And
Mm.
I'm
I'm
just
so
very
glad to
grateful
hear
for it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and really one of the reasons why I want to start this, I
Hmm.
had you and Rizzo in mind for
Hmm.
like getting an hour to just like catch up, really
Yo.
do it, and then also just like for everyone to see it, because I know
Hmm.
like there's one thing, it was like when before your video came up,
Hmm.
like your fit, because your wife and you came over to our house, I think, or apartment or something. We
Hmm.
met up like right before you left. I think it
Yep.
was like
In
6 months.
Minneapolis. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
like that was the last time that I could really like think of like, yeah, that's Luke. And then boom, and it's
Hmm.
like you look the same,
Hmm.
but you look different. You look
Yep,
so much
yep.
more tan than you used to.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah,
Skin
right.
cancer, man,
Uh,
Yeah.
so the next portion is your lineup and your matchup for this
Mhm.
upcoming week. What are your thoughts? Have you really taken a look yet?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm playing Crowley this weekend, and
Hmm.
so and I think he did call out, a fair point. I know he has a couple of guys on by, and so he's shilling out there for a running back. So if I could just put a word in, no one trade him a running back this week. Let's let's help out the little guy
Yeah.
and not help out the guy in first. But yeah, no. So I think so in terms of my lineup, first of all, it's tough because this is honestly, I think, my favorite team that I've ever had in our league. I mean, my running backs are weak, but literally everywhere else I feel stacked at. So like a lot of times in a lot of the drafts, I've kind of just like waited to get a quarterback until like late and just
Hmm.
take some a Derek
Hmm.
Carr type or somebody just like grab somebody kind of towards the end. But this is one of the years where Herbert I felt like fell quite a bit, and so I grabbed him, and I've certainly been super happy with him. It kind of sucks with his like rib situation stuff, so I think he's still kind of recovering from that.
Yeah.
Um also, one of the things I thought that was pretty funny was like when that happened, only in the NFL do you have like torn rib cartilage or like broken ribs, and you just like suit up the next week and play. I mean, that's just
Right.
incredible.
And
But
finish the game.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
just crazy, just
I thought
unbelievable.
like that was one of, I know that I've heard of it before, like since I started watching football, but it's like the only case that I've really heard of recently, other than on the same team, Tyrod Taylor was
Yeah, yeah,
like, and
yeah.
that's why he
Got his
came
lung
on.
punctured. Yeah,
Right. For the
yeah. Uh
exact same
huh.
injury.
Yep.
And like it's so weird that it's happening to this team again. And you
hmm
almost never hear about it from like other players. It's
Yep.
yeah,
It's
crazy.
crazy. I mean, it's just insane.
Well,
So I'm still super happy with Herbert. I'm jacked with him.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah,
And like
and
your team is one where if you told me that like I could have this on draft day, it's
mhm,
like, oh, 100%. I'm in.
yep,
We're good.
yeah. Because the weird thing is the weakest part again of my team is the running backs, and I drafted Najee Harris like in the first round. Like I thought that was like wow, huge volume, a lot
Right.
of receptions. I
Right.
mean, I loved, and I got him late in the first round. I thought that was
Right.
like going to be my golden ticket this year, and it's just going to ride him the whole way. And he's been the single biggest disappointment of my team. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been nuts.
And
Um,
really just a quarterback change for the most part for the
yeah,
difference on the team, and
yep.
what a difference it makes like when you
Oh
can
man.
stack the box
Oh
against
yeah.
him because
Yep.
no one's throwing the ball.
Yep. He just has
Yeah.
no room to run. He's getting hit before he gets the ball. Uh,
Yeah. I'm hoping
I don't
that
know.
that turns around for you because like he doesn't deserve to be bad. Like
Yeah.
Najee is
Yeah.
a
He's great.
beast. Yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely. So I still hold out hope for him. And yeah, my wide receivers are absolutely the strength of my team. So I had AJ Brown. I mean, he's the number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Lockett is super come on strong in the past couple weeks.
I
I,
told myself during the draft that I wouldn't touch him because I've had him.
yeah.
I had him in the
Uh-huh.
last 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yep.
And
I
he
do actually associate him with you as well, actually. Yeah, I remember. It's funny how honestly you remember like certain guys with like different
100%.
people and stuff. And I do
100%.
remember you with Lockett for sure.
Yeah. I and this year, and obviously you see Russell Wilson go away from that team and stink in Denver.
Yep.
And Gino, it
Gino,
shows up.
your guy Gino.
That's right. That's right. I'm not dropping him again. He is
Oh
my
my gosh,
quarterback. He
that's
is
crazy.
good. Yeah.
Yep.
But like Lockett is a freak athlete. One of those
Definitely.
guys that is just awesome, and it's good to see like an actual quarterback because I always thought it was Lockett that just like a quarter of the way halfway through the year had a few good weeks and then just fell off.
Yep.
And it's looking like it's all Russell Wilson.
Yep. Yeah. It definitely looks
Right.
like that at this point. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. I just took a peek and like his floor for you is like 15
Mhm.
points with a lot of 20s.
Yep. Yeah, he
That's
had one bad
great.
week in the first week, and ever since then, I mean, he's been one of the top performers, honestly, for wide receivers ever since then. So,
Yeah. And probably
yeah,
your
he's been
best
killing
peak
it.
or your best pick, Mark Andrews.
Yeah. So he was somebody else that I picked pretty early. I think either the second or third round. And but man, he's
Mhm.
been a superstar. Like as I was giving myself a hard time, I was a little bit wrong with my hot take with Travis Kelsey, kind of going downhill. I would
Yeah.
like to take that one back. Turns out he's pretty good. Uh,
Right.
but Mark Andrews has been just a stud for me all year. And again, one of the things with him is like he never has a bad game. Like one thing I'd read about
Yeah.
him actually going into the year, I remember when I was like doing some research going into the year was like, oh, he actually had better numbers without Lamar Jackson last year. And I think that's just kind of natural because like Lamar Jackson just sucks up a lot of the air out of the room with his running ability and with everything. I mean, he's just a
Totally.
superstar. Um, but I mean, Andrews is going to get his touches and his points, and he's such a threat in the red zone too.
I
That
mean, that team is built around him. Like
yeah,
he is
definitely.
he is the main weapon. And I hate to see teams where like that main weapon ends up getting suffocated just because they're always double covered. Like you saw it Jefferson against the Eagles for the Vikings, like
Mhm,
they were just able to completely say you're not going to
mhm.
throw it to him anymore.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't know a team that's ever done that against Mark Andrews for
Yeah,
like
I think
actually shut
it's
him down.
tough. It
Yeah,
is. It's interesting. It almost goes back to like Gronk in his like prime with the Patriots, where it's like
totally.
everyone. It's almost hard to shut down just a dominant tight end, almost more than a wide receiver. Where like
Well, I
you
guess
can't put
if
a
you do shut them down, you're leaving wide receivers
yeah,
open probably 20 yards further
yeah,
down the field.
yeah. They're just such like a matchup nightmare. Where like you can't put a corner on these guys because they're so much bigger. You can't
Right.
put a linebacker on them because they're so much faster. And it's like I don't
Right.
know if you have a dominant tight end, it goes a long ways for sure.
Yeah. And who was the Chargers tight end that was good even before like Gronk?
Oh, number 85.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
The
I can't
basketball
think.
player. I can't. Oh, Gates, Antonio Gates.
Yes. And so I feel like
Yeah.
he was the one that really like went from tight ends are pretty much just safety valves and they block. And
Mhm.
he was one of the first people that I remember being like, that dude just wins. Like that
Wait, he
is
just
part of
got
their
three
team.
touchdowns last week. What?
Yeah, yeah, not a
Yep.
fluke. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. I
Yep.
think
And
on
then
the other side of the ball, he looks strong, but it definitely has a lot missing. Derrick Henry being the big
yeah,
one.
Henry being gone obviously
Yeah.
is huge for me. And so yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I never discount Crow because especially at 4-1, I don't know. I just have a bad feeling, and some of it's just like recency bias. Where like I felt like I had a really good chance going into the week, and then I get smoked. So I've learned
Yeah.
to like to be very humble in fantasy because it'll humble you quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I love my team and I like the matchup this weekend with some of his guys out, but we'll see. Monday is a long ways away, so a lot can happen before
Amen.
then.
Amen. Yeah, that's so true. Like Thursday practice, someone sprains an ankle
Yeah.
and the entire matchup looks completely different.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Completely
Oh
agree.
my gosh. Yeah. I'm gonna start with Sutton Death after that. It's Dale and Sutton
Yep.
Death. This is for me, I think the one that I always look at before anybody else is
Mhm.
Dale's team.
Yep.
Josh's
Yep.
team, just
Yep.
to see because I keep on looking at it and I just go, every name on here makes sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Trevor
I mean,
Lawrence, is probably the weakest spot on it, but has
mhm.
not been horrific by any means. The team looks good.
Yeah, I think he might actually just dropped Lawrence too.
Oh,
I
did
think
he?
and picked up Wentz maybe. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, yeah, Lawrence has had a few stinker weeks, and
Mhm.
Jacksonville doesn't look they look so much better than they used to. But Delvin Cook, James Conner, Lamb,
Mhm. Yep.
Thielen, like
Yep.
the
Pitts.
whole, yeah, and
Yeah.
Pitts should have been amazing.
Yep.
Chase Edmonds, I was sick to my stomach when he took him right before me. Like
Uh-huh.
I was high on him as well, and
Yep. I
Dak
actually had
went
him
out.
last year and I was like, I loved it. I mean, he got in a
Of
PPR
course,
league. I mean, he had so many receptions and everything and a
he was one
bunch
of
of
those guys
touchdowns
where it
and
doesn't. He can get 20 yards rushing on
yep.
20 carries, but he
Yep.
caught the ball 8 times.
Exactly. And you
Yeah,
end up with a great week.
yeah, yeah.
That is the one
That's
I will say for him. I just don't get how his scoring has been so low. I mean, it's so much of that again is just like luck and stuff, but
it
uh
only takes,
I don't know.
let's say out of the next 7 weeks he goes 5-2.
Mhm.
Somehow just
Yep.
starts
Yep.
ripping it. He would be 5-7
Yep.
and look pretty
Sneaking in
good
right
for
towards
making
that
the
number 6. Yep.
right.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And so yeah, everything that happens can happen in reverse, but this week might not be the one
Yep.
because
Yeah.
poof,
I like Chris's team this week. But yeah, he's pretty stacked.
yeah, I mean, he hit on like Brees Hall for this team was the one they were my, if you will, white unicorn, the one that got away.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And
Hey,
I
he's my
thought
guy
that
from Iowa State. He's my Cyclone.
so good.
I also put out a trade for Chris that he hasn't responded to. So Chris, I know Chris logged off about 15 minutes ago, but if he's
Yeah.
still watching, he needs to get back to my trade on
Oh my god, that's
that.
hilarious. That is so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's showing up. I mean,
Mhm.
Sutton is the only one that's catching balls in Denver.
Yep.
Yeah, I just everything about it looks stacked. It's gonna be
Yeah, and with
tough.
and Jonathan Taylor is like underperformed somehow to this point
Yeah.
this year. But like again, I had him last year. I mean, he can go on a run where he's getting like literally 30 points a week. I mean, just for like 6 weeks in a row. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so his I don't know. And Barkley this year too has just been a
I
killer. I
like
mean,
Barkley.
wow.
If Barkley stays healthy
Yeah,
and
he's just a
stays performing at 80% of what he's doing right now, he
yep,
might be the number one overall pick next year.
yep,
Like
definitely.
you would have to be thinking about Barkley, you'd have to be thinking about Cup and Jefferson as like who's gonna
Yep,
go first. But like
yep.
I
Hmm.
I would have thought that Barkley was almost washed up with the amount of injuries that he's had and that they're just everywhere. And he
Yep.
is proving everybody wrong.
Yeah, he's having a sick return of a year for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to move to the next one?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. Corn Stalks versus 46ers. This one to me is actually my like watch it of the week. Like
Hmm.
this is the one that I'm going to be watching the most, and it has Jason up by 10 points.
Yep.
And I actually think that he doesn't win on the week.
Uh-huh. I've
I
thought since
yeah.
since honestly since when I'd sent out just my draft grades and stuff
Mm-hmm.
for things, like I think Cookie's team is so underrated, honestly. I really
Yeah.
like his team. I mean, honestly, again, from top to bottom, I think like he's just got talent across the board. I loved his draft. And so
Yeah.
I it would not surprise me at all if he can make the comeback
Yeah.
or against the projections. But
Devonte Adams on bye.
yeah, that hurts for sure. Yep.
Also, did you see that he shoved a guy?
Yeah. Oh my
Right.
gosh. Yeah.
And he got they gave him a gross misdemeanor legally
Okay.
for
Uh-huh.
it, but now the
I heard the
NFL
guy was
has
like suing or something, or
oh, I'm
yeah.
sure he is. Why they're gonna
Yeah.
settle out of court for like
Yeah.
100 grand
Uh-huh.
and just be like, shut
Yep.
up, go away.
Yep.
But like the NFL has not come down. Do you think that he gets any type of suspension?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So again, I get a lot of my sports news. I make breakfast every morning. I listen to the Dan Patrick show every morning. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were talking on there, and one of the guys on his show had like formerly been, he like ran cables on the sideline for like the
Oh,
NFL
sure.
games and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was saying, he's like, listen, I'm not saying like what Devontae did was right or anything, but he's like, it is extremely clear when you're working those jobs that like it's stay out of the way of the players, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, the players have the right way 100% of the time, all the time. And so he was saying he was kind of guessing this guy might be kind of new and stuff and kind of got in the way. And so I would be, if that's the case, and again, I think this guy worked on like NFL fields and sideline and
Right.
stuff for like 10 years or something. If that's the case, I'm sure the NFL, would probably tend to agree with that. It's a really
Right.
bad look, I think, obviously.
Right. And that's one of
But
the things is do you like I could see it where they go, this isn't something that, exactly for what you said, we're not
mhm,
going to take games away, but it's
mhm.
30 grand or
Yeah,
whatever it is. Because if you
yep,
think about these guys also like running full head of steam towards the sidelines,
mhm.
is it now going to be like they can't
Yeah.
touch these people
Because
anymore?
sometimes those camera,
Oh,
and
they
this is a
get lit.
totally different
Oh,
situation, but yeah, like they get just rocked.
right.
Sometimes
Right.
it makes
Right.
like it's always the guys with like the big green, like they just get like blowing up. But I
Absolutely.
know that's completely apples and oranges, but it is
Right.
just kind of like, it's like
100%.
what happens when,
Right.
Cameron guys and stuff get in
Yeah,
the
because
way.
suddenly
And
you
yeah,
say like, well, this running back should have taken like he obviously could have stepped to the
yeah,
side. It's like
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not. And so
yeah,
yeah, I don't think it's a slippery slope due to that. Like I think
yeah,
that's still far fetched, but I do think that the NFL right now, especially with Tua and with like
yeah.
other
Oh
things where they're
yeah,
just like
yeah.
people's health and like
Yep. I think
humanity.
they're hyper cautious about everything right
Bingo.
now, and that makes sense.
Bingo.
Ever since that, and I actually didn't see that 201 live, but like then afterwards, just like, oh man, that is a bad look, obviously, and
Yeah, and
that
I
was
mean now
crazy.
they're obviously like anytime that you touch a quarterback and
Hmm.
bring him to the ground in a way that's hard, like they're calling
Yep.
it,
Oh
but
yeah.
that
Oh my
that
gosh.
made the outcome of two games. I mean, you can't
Hmm.
say for sure that the other team would have won.
Hmm.
Any quarterback can always throw a pick or whatnot, but in both of those games, it was who was it? It was Brady for sure.
Tampa Bay. Yep.
Yeah,
And then just the Monday night game.
yeah, I can't
I
remember
think
who it
the
was.
Raiders and whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was in both of those games that extended that. And I mean, in one of those, it was a
Hmm.
strip fumble that
Oh
he
yeah, and the
landed on.
Chiefs. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Chris
Chiefs. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jones. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so
Yep.
he had the ball in his possession, landed
Yeah.
on him, and then started running.
Yep.
How?
I was watching that one live, and like my jaw literally dropped watching
Yeah,
that. I can't, like he literally just came in, and by the time they hit the ground, he already had the ball, and he like braced himself. Like
right.
that was textbook according to what you're supposed to do, and you
And
still get
technically,
yeah.
that quarterback's on defense the second that
Oh
that guy
yeah,
has possession of the
exactly.
ball.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what was seriously like what was he supposed to do? What does the NFL want him to do in that situation? They're just
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing he could have done. So
Yeah, I heard that this is the best argument. Like this happening is the best argument that all turnovers have to be reviewed,
yeah, uh-huh.
right? That you
Yep.
just have to spend a second,
Yep.
see, what it actually was. And instead of it just being like close fumbles or stuff like that, like every single one has to be reviewed. So
Yep.
who knows if that will end up happening. But yeah, it was crazy to see that.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Yeah, but I do for me, ETN. Hopefully he steps it up a little bit. Melvin
Hmm.
Gordon is a steal now, and
Yeah.
Cam Akers
Hmm.
maybe he'll have go in for Anderson. That is Tim. Uh,
Yep.
but for me, this is the one where I think it ends up being. Well, was it you that lost by point
Yeah.
one point? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Not that I remember this, but it was point oh six.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh
I
my
just want to
god.
cry.
Yeah, that is a unique feeling, I'm
You know
sure.
when you have to go the 100th point that it's a
Oh,
close it's a close matchup.
yeah, and you're just like, that's the difference of a guy taking a step,
Oh yeah,
right?
it's
One.
silly. Yep,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
ridiculous.
my gosh, that was amazing. But
Yep.
I think this is going to be one of those matchups where it's going to be a fight back and forth. And
Yep.
let's see, I see Sundays and Sundays. So we'll actually know Sunday night who wins this one
Yeah.
as long as nothing changes. That'll be great.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is Robbie and Bestian.
Yep.
And this is another one where, like, throw up my hands who's gonna win. They have Robbie by 13.
Yep.
And Robbie is 4-1, but 3 and
Yep.
2. I think this one ends with an upset as well, where Bestian
Hmm.
pulls it out and they're both 4-2.
Yeah, I have to think this one's going to be a shootout. So, like, a couple things about Rob's team. Like, holy shit, Josh Allen to Diggs. I think we all know is just like, it's not even fair. I don't even know how that happened. That's
So
incredible.
good.
Then you throw Metcalf in there, and like, I mean, his team is just stacked, and it seems to be every year. So well
Yeah, I
done
was
for
so
him. I
jealous
mean,
that I sent a bunch of trades for Metcalf to be like, I
mhm,
want that stack.
yep,
I want what
yep.
you have.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The Geo
Yeah.
Metcalf.
No.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say though, Beshin's team is, and again, he was somebody else I thought, and he's coming on here real strong.
Mhm.
Like he has some like guys again that can put up just your like sick like high 30s or even 40-point games. You know, Mahomes, Jefferson. I have to give him credit. I thought a hell of a pick at number 2 this year, getting
Hell of a
Jefferson
pick.
like that took some balls to like take a wide receiver that early, but I
Yeah.
mean, clearly that like easily is paying off. I mean,
Mhm.
and yeah, in my college league, I have Jefferson, and that's just probably part of the reason I'm doing so well there. I mean,
Yeah.
Jefferson is just like a freaking superstar.
Yeah.
So that makes me very happy as a
Absolutely.
Vikings fan, and I hope he puts up 40 points every single game for Bastion from here on out. So,
Yeah, it is
uh,
like there. That's something that you can't be like, ooh, if Jefferson goes over 5 points, I lose. So
yep.
I still want him to get 30. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Definitely. That is always the funny thing is that, like when you're playing like a lot of Vikings players, if you're playing like like Cook or
Hmm.
Cousins or
Hmm.
Jefferson, it's just like weird tug of war. But like I will say, just I'm always 100% when I'm watching the Vikings game. I just cheer for the Vikings. My fantasy team be damned. I'll make up the points somewhere else. I want the Vikings just to
100%.
steamroll everybody. So that's been
100%.
fun this year to at least see us off to such a strong start. So
Yeah.
hopefully
And
as a team we can keep that up.
yeah, and I heard an analysis that they've been putting in more and more plays into their playbook this year, from week 1 to now week 6. But it's
Oh,
fun. Like
nice.
last week, I'm sure that you watched, and two trick plays,
Mhm.
and I think both of them worked
Yep.
well. And just to see like
Yep.
week 1 and 2, it was pretty cut and dry. But if you think about it, those guys had
Yep.
only been practicing together with
Yeah.
like a new
Yeah.
scheme completely
Yep.
for
Totally new
like,
system and everything.
yeah, for really like two
Hmm.
months, right? So to
Yep.
see that
And that's a
come into play, it's
and that's
great.
something where like you never would have seen some of those like trick plays and stuff with Zimmer in the past. So like
No
it's kind
way.
of fun to think where it's like we're probably on like the upslope of getting better, and we should only keep getting better throughout the year.
Yeah,
So
if
I'm
you
I'm
think
pretty
that
excited
like a
about that.
coach's tool belt, he starts out just having like one or two slots filled, and now maybe they're
Hmm.
halfway by the end of the year, or
Yep.
even into next year. If they just
Yep.
have this amazing arsenal of what they can do to get 5 yards to get that first down,
Yep.
that is so exciting. So I could not
Yep.
agree more. Yeah.
Yep. Or somehow we lose the next 6 games and we all hate ourselves. And,
Yeah.
that'd be typical Vikings right there.
Oh,
So
it sure
as soon as we get
would.
excited.
It sure would. Yeah.
Yep.
You were talking about Jared Allen and Stefan Diggs. Chubb
Mhm.
is one that
Oh yeah.
if I had the 1 overall and or let's say the
Yep.
3 overall and Jefferson and Cup had been
Mhm.
taken,
Yeah.
I would
Uh-huh.
take Chubb.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
he looks
Definitely.
unstoppable this year, and it's
Yep.
all just the same thing that he was doing last year, the year
Yep.
before, just runs on the ground, doesn't really catch
Yep.
balls. But
But he
now
just kills it.
he kills it. And
Yep.
I think all of last year he had 8 touchdowns, and now he
Hmm.
has 7 on the
Yeah,
year.
already. Yeah. It's one of
Awesome.
those things where so I have Kareem Hunt. And so like
Yeah.
I was hoping it was gonna be a little bit more balanced. But
Yeah,
like
because that's where
Chubb is just like is too good. I mean, why would why would they not give him the ball?
but that was what made Hunt so attractive is
Yep.
he got half the touchdowns, a little
Yep.
bit of the passing
Exactly.
work.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yep.
so even if it's, he carries the ball for 5 times, catches the ball twice, and a touchdown,
Yep.
makes it like a guaranteed 10 points. He's a
Yep.
great second
Yep.
running back or flex. Like,
Yep.
absolutely get on my team. But
Hmm.
yeah, it seems like, maybe it's just the matchups that they've had so far, and they'll kind of go back to the median of like a little bit more of the two-headed approach than it is
Hmm.
right now. Just give it to Chubb. But
Yep.
uh yeah, it's fun. He's
Yeah.
a fun guy to
Yeah. Chubb,
follow.
like I said, it's a fun guy to watch, honestly.
Yeah,
Like he's a stud.
yeah, for sure. Anything else you have? And well, I have one more thing. Bastion,
Mhm.
once Swift comes back, like even just
Yeah.
looking at his team, where
Yep.
like you have Walker, who's going to be a starting running back. Everyone
Yep.
else looks great. Maybe Dawson Knox is the one.
Stevenson picks
Yeah,
up. Yep.
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 And so, but like he has so much depth in his bench that he might end up uh winning 2 or 3 games just because he has the best bench
Yep.
during bye weeks.
Exactly. And that's something I think that as we come up into this time of the year is always a huge thing where I mean if you have depth, obviously it doesn't help necessarily in like the early like part of
Right.
the year, but it's like all of a sudden this is the time of year where it's like again when somebody, like Crowley or somebody is getting, slammed with a bunch of bye weeks, that depth comes in huge then for sure.
For
So
sure. And it
yeah.
can even keep you out of a sticky situation where you have to trade somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And
Definitely.
so
Yep.
like you might be giving up 10% of what a player is actually worth to grab that position for a player that's still going to be
Hmm.
good. But if like you
Hmm.
have to do, some type of a not so great trade just because you might not make the playoffs if you
Yep.
lose this game. Yeah,
Yeah, you get a
it's
little desperate, and I've
yeah.
been there several times in the past couple of years, so I'm very familiar with
Me, me
that.
too. Uh 11 benevolent elephants and don't hassle the Hoff. I mean, it's kind of good matchups all around
Hmm.
for the
Yeah.
week.
Yep.
But yeah, for this, Tom Brady looked pretty good last week, but
Hmm.
he's playing Pitt this week. I have a feeling
Hmm.
that they almost get up by too much
Hmm.
and then shut it down. Because
Yep.
even last week, I think they were up by quite a bit, and then they just gave everything to Lenny.
Yep. And
And
just ran out the clock as much as possible.
yeah,
So it's
and
funny,
so
you and I think exactly the same way. So I
yeah,
have Chris Godwin on my team. And
sure,
so I love him. I mean, he's great. But I was actually thinking, because I have four good receivers. So like Gabe Davis, for example, was on my bench
right,
last week. And so I have 4 good receivers. So I was actually thinking about benching Godwin because of exactly what you were saying, where it's like,
If
I'm
he only
kind of
plays
worried
half,
they get
yeah,
up, 28-0 at halftime. They just kind of, and he's been kind of hurt too. So like, and then just shut him down in the second
yeah,
half. And I definitely don't want that to happen. So
no,
I think that I'm kind of worried about that too from anybody on Tampa Bay's offense for sure.
yeah. And I think that now since they've actually switched the quarterbacks over in Pitt,
Hmm.
that it's like there's probably going to be a couple weeks of this that's not going to look great.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Tampa Bay doesn't have a bad defense. Like,
Yeah.
are they the
Yep.
best one? No, but they're
Yep.
in the top 10, I bet. And
Hmm. Yep.
so, that bad team playing a good defense, yeah, it could be just, give the guys the week off kind of a thing. Cooper Kupp is always,
Yeah.
an amazing guy to watch. Leonard Fournette, he has that
Especially with how
stat
many
where,
receptions he gets, he's
oh
just like he's guaranteed to put up a good week.
my God.
Stafford throws the ball to him like every time. So
Yeah. I ended up talking to Dan today, actually. He called me
hmm.
and it's one of those things where you watch him, when you watch
Hmm.
Cup, there are some players where they have these amazing big plays, and he does too. But like
Hmm.
the only way that they get it is kind of like Lockett. If Lockett is gonna catch the ball for big
Yep.
yards, he's gonna
Hmm.
catch it 60 yards down.
Yep.
He's not gonna catch
Definitely.
it 5 yards out like Cup will
Yep.
and take it to the house and
Hmm.
find like
Yep.
those seams and get through everybody. And so it's so much fun to watch him just find a way to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, fun guy to watch. Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think about John's team?
Yeah. So, like I said, I think Lamar is just like one of those just generational talents. I remember like 3 years ago or something, everybody's like, well, you can't keep doing that. He's going to get hurt, all this
The
stuff, kind of like,
RG3 kind of a thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And so that's just proven not to be true. I think at this
Mm-mm.
point where, I mean, he still runs just insanely well, knows when to get down, knows when to get out of bounds. But like, I feel like he still takes guys on sometimes, kind of like Josh Allen almost, where
I
like
was
some of these
just gonna
guys,
say that.
like,
It's like,
yeah,
other than like, I feel like Josh Allen has just an arm, just like an
yeah,
insane cannon on him, where
he
Lamar
does.
Jackson is not quite as accurate deep.
Yep,
But
yep.
if, yeah, both of them have this ability to both be the biggest runner on the field
Mhm. Yep,
and keep it really safe when they're doing it for the most
yep,
part. And
yep.
so, yeah, it's a little
That's
different
just
than
such a
like,
threat. That's
gosh, yeah, it's
yep,
it's a it is so much fun to watch, and generational talent. You're so right.
yep. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, again, John's another team. It's pretty stacked from top to bottom. Is it?
Mhm.
I mean, Kelsey obviously at tight end. I hear he's overrated, but maybe not. But
Well, here's a fun stat, and I'm looking at it just to make sure that it's right. And he
Mhm.
did have 7 receptions, but he had 4 touchdowns,
Was it
seven
25
receptions,
yards?
25
Yeah,
yards
I
for
remember. Yeah.
4 touchdowns and seven
Yeah.
receptions.
That has to be a record. That has to
It's
be a
the
record.
lowest for sure. Like, you have to be in the
Yeah.
red zone on the 3 almost every time to be like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's, oh my gosh. It,
Yep,
it
that's
it
pretty
is
crazy.
absolutely amazing that that's even possible.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, but I mean, the crazy thing is I think he's 32 or 33. That's where I
Yeah,
thought he was literally gonna like, at some point, like lose a
right.
step, slow down, but like that just doesn't look true at all. I mean, maybe if he goes
Yeah.
for another, can he go? Brady's playing at a high level to 45. Obviously, that's the quarterback position, but like, maybe all of a sudden a tight end now could go till 35, 36, without that big drop off.
For sure. How
I
old was
mean,
Jimmy Graham when he retired with
yeah, I don't even
Packers?
know.
And he
Yeah,
wasn't playing at a super high level, but
yeah,
just like you were saying earlier, they just are so freaking big and know
yeah,
how to
it's
use their
crazy.
space that,
Yep,
like, if you need 7 receptions for 25
yep,
yards, they
yep.
get it. No
And
one
Jimmy
can
Graham,
do
even at
anything.
the end, was that guy where like, lob it up in the end zone and he'll
Right.
just box out and go and get it. And
Yeah,
yep,
I mean, they really are like basketball players
yep.
that are just catching like basically a rebound that happens to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and like
Exactly.
is in the back of the end zone. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Yeah. Waddle is probably
Hmm.
the my number one. It's Hill and Waddle are like, I had in my notes for drafting like stay far away. They're being
Hmm.
overdrafted. They're going to eat
Hmm.
into each other. And so, like, that is something that they've proven is not a problem.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
I heard today that they're going to be on their third string quarterback.
oh yeah.
That
Okay, I didn't
Bridgewater
hear that.
also is
Is
like,
he?
well, I
Yep.
heard that he passed through like concussion protocols without any
Uh-huh.
real issues, but
Hmm.
that team is so hyper vigilant right now
Yep.
that they're just
Yeah,
like, you're
they
not
almost
playing.
can't. I feel like
You
the
can't.
NFL is gonna be like, you're not gonna play
Right.
Bridgewater.
You're like, we can't take that on as
Yep.
the NFL. Like,
Yep.
we can't.
Definitely.
We
Yep.
cannot let you do this.
Yeah,
And
which is too
so,
bad because I don't care what team he plays for. I still love Teddy. Like I'll never not love
and he
Teddy. I
looked
always cheer
good.
for him. Yeah, exactly. I 100%. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I just
Uh,
love Teddy.
I think I don't know if you should ever cheer for somebody to be the starting quarterback rather than the backup quarterback, because I do think that like the backup quarterback might be the best position in any sport, where it's like
Uh-huh.
you might play 2 games a year, if not like a couple games in your entire career, and you
Hmm.
get paid
Oh,
5 million
yeah.
to
It's crazy.
yeah. I mean, I think they were
It's like the Chase Daniel effect. One of my good buddies went to Mizzou, and so he's always laughing about like he started what like 5 games or something, has made like $50 million or
right.
something. I mean, it's like it's just crazy.
Yeah, I know that Blake
That's
Bortles was amazing in
yeah.
Baltimore, but like
Uh-huh.
he made probably as much money as a backup that
Yep.
started for people that got hurt as he
Yep.
did for the rest of his career, and he made
Definitely.
$50 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good gig.
Oh my gosh. And I think it feels like Blake Bortles played in the league for a long, long time.
Hmm.
7 years.
Yeah. 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 That was
That's not
weird. I
that
was
long.
surprised that like I was kind of surprised honestly that he couldn't like latch on as a backup somewhere. I don't know.
I know,
That's
and maybe he just said like
yeah,
at
maybe
some
yeah.
point
Yep.
money is just not like, do you
Yep.
need, you've made
Yep.
$50 million, and he seems like
Yeah.
a dude. He just seems like
Yeah.
a, like he probably bought a house worth a couple million, bought another
Uh-huh.
house for a couple million, and then
Yep.
like the rest of it is just like he doesn't do a whole lot and he just likes
Hmm.
being a guy. So
Yep.
it's not like, what was it, Skittles had to play forever
Uh-huh.
because he had 12 children, where it's
Yep.
like, yeah, Lynch had to play because he just had like a
Yep.
whole team by himself, and he
He
needs
could
the
probably still
money.
give like, a good 3 or 4 carries if he had to though. So
Oh, I like the number
I'd
one
put him in our
person that
backfield.
I would
Yep.
love to see come back, because
If it was fourth
that
and
he
one,
was
man,
never,
I would take him for sure.
yeah, he was always in great shape in the
Yep.
NFL, but like I feel like he's one of those guys that just closed his eyes and ran
Hmm.
as hard at someone
Yep.
as possible
Doesn't
and
I
just
don't care if I
said,
hit my offensive lineman. I don't care if I hit somebody else.
I'm gonna
Like
get 3 yards.
I'm going through. Yep.
Right. And then
Yep.
suddenly, like, he bounces off of someone and there's no one in front of him
Hmm.
and he just runs on forever. I feel like
Yep.
he could do that today, where it's just like, I can get three
Yep.
yards. I can run
Yeah.
super hard at something.
Yep. It's like
Oh my
Seattle should
God.
give him the ball on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl. I don't know, but
Oh, did you see the post game for the Broncos, the Denver
oh,
Broncos,
with
where it was,
with Sherman talking
yeah,
about something. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
I saw
Sherman
a
that
clip
was
of
just
it.
like,
Yeah.
you give him the ball, you run
Yep.
the ball, you
I
run
wonder
the
why he
ball.
was thinking that. It's like
Well, I love they showed,
PTSD.
oh, 100%. Can you imagine, like, you
Oh my
probably,
god.
like, Sherman being one of the faces of that team had to
Oh
have gotten
yeah.
shit for years,
Yep,
right?
definitely.
Like
Yep.
he's now trying, he's the person that has to answer for the coach that made that decision,
Yep.
because
Hmm.
he's the face. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I saw that they put like the play next to the one that he didn't throw it to, like that slot receiver that wide open
Hmm.
coming across. Like
Hmm.
literally, it just looks like you photoshopped different jerseys on it and
Hmm.
just throws it to the best defensive player on their team.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Like it is totally what makes football is,
Hmm.
if you just
Yep.
go like, oh, that's a give me, just give them 7 points and we can
Yep.
move on from here. Like they'll have to
Hmm.
earn it for 8.
Yep.
Like that's why we all get so into it, is those
Hmm.
plays
You literally
happen.
never know what's going to happen on the next play.
Never
You
know.
could think you do, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the only matchup left is
I can't
myself,
remember somebody that we haven't covered yet.
and I again, like at least how we are paired for what
Mhm,
it says that we should get, we're tied.
mhm.
And
Yep, super
so
tight.
super tight. I know, like I think Nick Scudamore has a great team, especially since McCaffrey, I think, is
Mhm.
just heating up, just
Yep,
continually. They're giving him the ball more.
yep.
Elliott's fine. I think Pittman is. We almost made a trade earlier in the year. I know I told people that,
Mhm.
but like Pittman has done nothing. Now,
Yeah, so I actually he was somebody on my draft list that I wanted to get, and then
right?
Scuds got him, but I definitely wanted him. So I think he's underperformed to this point, but like I still think he's gonna do pretty well here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Do you
really
think it's
wanted
a
to draft
changing
him.
quarterback?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely possible. I
Like
don't know.
it's Matt Ryan, and it just seems
Yep.
like it seems like they're doing okay, but
Yep.
yeah, he's just not the player that I thought he would be.
Yeah, Indy made the same mistake I did about 6 years ago when I drafted Matt Ryan, and it
Mm,
turns out he was a little bit washed up then, and
right.
and apparently Indy is a little behind those times, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
But
he's
somehow
just
they found
he's rough.
Atlanta found ways to win games sometimes and trick
Yep,
them
yep.
into thinking that he's
It,
good.
there's always just enough to convince them.
There's always just enough. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, and it looks like the last matchup, and for Nick, no buys on the week.
Yep.
For me, and really
Maybe
there
it's
weren't
Cooks,
that
maybe. Yeah.
many. Yeah, it's just Pierce. Um,
Yep.
and so he's been my number one
Yep.
overperformer.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, he's been great.
right. I think it
Mhm.
was like through after week one and week two. And week two, I believe he had no, he didn't have a touchdown, but he had one reception. He, 4 and 8 points. I almost tried to trade him away for almost nothing. And then I was
Mhm.
just like, one more week, and then he popped
Yep.
off. And so, but it's his bye week, rest up.
Yep. Yep.
Uh right.
Yep.
And for me, if
Yeah, a
Keenan Allen
couple
starts
comments I
this
have
week.
on your team. I was gonna
Yes,
say,
please.
yeah, number one, as a interested observer, I
Yeah.
really hope Keenan Allen comes back. So my quarterback Herbert, he has honestly not been the same since Keenan went out. And I've had Keenan multiple times in the last couple of
Right.
years. Like I love him. Like he you can put him down for like 8 to 12 catches, about 100 yards. He
Right.
doesn't get a ton of touchdowns, but like it's the volume that he gets like crazy. And I will say is,
100%.
and now that I'm paying attention to Herbert every week, like he has not been the same, even with the injury and stuff. But like
Yeah.
not having, and like I said, I watch almost every Chargers game because we just get them every time out here.
Yeah.
And like he has not been the same without Keenan Allen. So I'm definitely hoping that Allen comes back pretty quick. Uh,
Amen.
and if we could throw the ball to Eckler a little bit more and not rush it quite so much, I know he had a huge week last week on the ground. I would also approve of that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Even the tap passes, I'm sure you'd be okay with. Just
yes,
those
exactly.
little
I literally
Kansas
don't
City
care. Yeah,
ones.
you
Yeah.
guys need to
As
just
long as it
dump it
counts.
off a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yep. But and last thing too on yours, Lazard. So he also went to Iowa State, so I'm biased as usual.
I didn't know
But
that.
yeah, yep. So he was great for Iowa State, and Rogers has actually always spoken super highly of him. And so I think I still think his best days are definitely ahead of him.
Agreed.
That's somebody else actually that I want to draft. I thought I was gonna be able to draft him a little. There's two guys I was talking to a different buddy. I'm like, I think I can get Brees Hall kind of low, and I think I can get Lazard lower. And both you guys went up and got both of them. So that was
What do you
good.
think? And I know the draft was already like, a month and a half ago,
Yeah,
but
goes quick.
it goes so quick. What did you think those rounds were for, like, what did you think Hall would drop to you in?
Yeah, I don't really remember honestly. I had done a couple mock drafts.
Yeah.
I can't honestly remember off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but
because I even
yeah.
thought that I was expecting him to be there. I think he got taken in the fourth, and
Hmm.
I was gonna snag him in the fifth because
Hmm.
I thought that people would be expecting him to drop to the sixth. And so
Yep.
I was also surprised by
Gonna
that.
sneak in there. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Because I thought that
Yep.
I was going to reach for him a round early, and someone did 2 rounds early.
Yep.
But it seems to be paying off now. Maybe not the first
Yeah.
2 weeks, but
Yeah.
now
Yep.
it looks
It's definitely
great.
coming around.
Yeah.
That's one of the things though, I will say that's so like great about our league and stuff and awful, but it's like how like in a good way competitive it is, where it's like, I
100%.
thought honestly Brees Hall is a perfect example where it's like, oh, like I watched him for 3 years at Iowa State. I know he's really good, you know, and all this stuff and
No one's
catch a
gonna
lot of
know his
balls. I'm
name.
like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like people aren't even gonna know about him. Like, nope, that I mean, everybody in our league is totally aware of him, like, you know, is all about him. And it's crazy. And I've noticed that too, like in our league versus you know, my other league and stuff, where it's like, oh, this is a great waiver wire pickup, you know, this week or
Right.
something. It's like, oh, somebody drafted this guy in like the 9th round. Like, what are you
I
talking about?
know.
Waiver wire pickup? Like
That's
that
happened to
guy was
me.
gone weeks ago.
That's happened to me so many times already this year, especially with like tight ends, where I go to be like, okay, I think this guy will be like, you know, maybe in the top 12, but at least in the top like 18. Like I should
Mm.
be getting like 5 or 6
Yeah.
points. I need 5 or 6
Yep.
points. And
Yep.
and everyone that I'm just kind of excited about is on someone's bench or they're already
Yep.
starting them. And yeah,
Yep.
it
Like, what
is
the hell?
it does make it extremely competitive. And
Yep.
then the
Yeah.
people that like a podcast that I'll listen to will be like, yeah, you can probably drop that player. It's like they were dropped 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, like,
they
come on, man.
yeah,
Where are you? Come on.
right.
Yeah, it's one of the things that again just makes our league fun as shit. I love
Oh, couldn't agree more. Yeah,
it.
like in those other leagues that people play in, like myself, where
Mhm,
it'll be like anyone that you want, no one's picked up a player yet. The
mhm.
only reason why they did it is someone is legitimately out hurt. They were just like,
Yep.
well, I'll just drop this person and
I
pick up
guess,
somebody
yeah.
else, and that's it.
Yep.
And we've
Uh-huh.
seen people in our league wash
Mhm.
out due to that. Like I'm
Yep,
sure that
definitely.
if you're not kind
Definitely.
of like spending an hour to a week
Mhm,
kind of listening to stuff or looking at people
mhm,
or whatnot, like just you know maybe it's just like you said a 15 or 30-minute podcast in the mornings like
mhm.
is enough for me.
Yep.
But yeah, when you go to find people, every like you really have to dive deep and you really have to
Yep.
take your shot a couple weeks early.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's
No, I
amazing.
love it.
But of course, I'm going to say that I win this one, and that it's you know
I'll
two,
support you
four,
in
and
that.
three.
I
Thank
like it.
you, thank you very much. But I do think that it's another one where like, what week does Joe Burrow finally show up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to
Right.
happen quick. I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
the guy is a superstar.
He's a
There's no
superstar.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
And even if you hear like the way like his team talks about him too, like clearly they have such a level of respect for him
Yeah.
that like I don't know. He literally needs more than like 1.8 seconds to throw the ball, and
Yeah.
he's got plenty of weapons.
Yeah. I have a feeling
Higgins
that
and
like this
Chase and
upcoming year,
yep.
they'll have draft picks that are just going to be specifically for that early and often because the rest
Mhm,
of their team, they don't need anything. As
mhm,
long as
yeah,
they can keep
definitely.
a good amount of their offense,
Mhm,
maybe give up a little bit of their defense, like it's just you can't ask for better running back, better wide receivers, and a better quarterback. So give them a line.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I
Oh my
assume
gosh.
next year they have to like invest their first 4 draft picks in offensive linemen. I mean,
Right. Right. Even backups at this point because they can't
yep,
keep anybody healthy.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Hmm.
And we always have commercial.
Hmm.
And this one is for all of the guys just trying to they're 30, they remember playing sports in high school, and they finally think, I still got it. It's men's softball. Men's
Yeah.
softball. Get in official league softball. Get in your league today. Just remember, beer is not optional. It's a must.
I love
Anyone
it.
that's sober is cheating.
Is whiskey okay? Not
Oh,
necessarily beer.
absolutely. Absolutely. Have you ever played like men's league softball?
So not softball. So out here, beach volleyball. I'm in a couple of beach volleyball leagues, so that's
Sure.
just like everywhere. So like literally last night, I have a Tuesday night league, and then I'm also in one on the weekend. So that's kind of the big thing out here. But
That's
yeah,
awesome to think.
my swing is probably not as good as it once was. I'll be honest.
It's funny to think that like it's so Midwestern to California to think that like what we're doing here is softball and you guys are playing in bikinis and like shorts and like you're out in the sun and we're just like we have
Yep.
to hit this.
Yep. I played a boatload of intramural softball in college though, so I definitely
Yeah,
I do miss that.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah. So we also do a weekly shout out. Do you have anything
Sure.
that you want to shout out?
Oh man, I don't know. Any what do you have? What do you have for this week? I'm gonna turn on you.
Oh gosh. For this week, I think we have to shout out. Maybe we've done it once before, but we are literally 10 days away from Dan's wedding. So
Hell yeah,
everyone
man.
remember, and we're all men. I'm not saying that everyone has this issue, but if you have not thought about buying a present yet, it's probably a good time to think about buying a present because the day before can get kind of tight.
I'm not the only one that normally my wife sends presents.
Oh,
Okay.
100%. 100%. Like it's now become like I used to think that getting that perfect present that it would be like, oh, they'll think of me when they use it and it's great. It's now just like people want cash. Like it is really
Yep.
nice to be like, oh yeah, it
Mhm.
went towards the honeymoon or it's going towards this. It's like I think I'll get him a gift, but like I have not bought one yet. But it's like I remember getting married, and of course we were
Mhm.
younger, probably around the same time
Sure. Same.
that you
Yep.
guys did. Yeah.
Definitely.
And
Yep.
it's like suddenly having a few $1,000s in cash that you got for your
Yep.
wedding isn't too bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No complaints. Yeah. One thing
No, yeah.
one thing I would say for a shout out is, and I just mean it like, and I think I'm probably hypersensitive to it just again from living so far away. But I know I've said this a couple times in the group chat, but like honestly, in terms of like the fall and winter and everything, like this league is one of the highlights for me of just like the camaraderie, the bantering, giving each other shit. And I think just like the shared history and stuff is really fun. Whereas like, you know, especially, it's tough to like go meet somebody new and just like have that immediate, it's really nice that we all have that. And yeah, like I said, I don't know. It's a long off season for me. And all of a sudden when the season comes around, there's nothing I look forward to more. So I just really appreciate still being a part of it. So much later, and I appreciate it.
That's awesome. And
Yep.
I think a lot of us feel that way, but
Mhm.
it's got to be just a little bit different. Yeah, just for
Mhm.
exactly what you said. Like it's still just a little touch of where
Mhm.
being in
Yep.
Minnesota.
It's touch
So
of home.
yeah,
100%.
that's awesome.
100%. Yep.
No, that's wonderful. That's really pulls at the heartstrings a little bit. It's good.
Yeah.
And
No, man. I love it.
so we've been trying to do, and I made the first 2 weeks. I missed this last week, but we've been trying to do a virtual happy hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be a part of it this week,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and
That'd be
you
great.
get to name the time.
Okay. I might do a West Coast time,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. You're in the driver's seat.
yeah. How about could we do like 3 p.m. Sunday or
Yeah,
something?
actually, that's
Would
the
that
last
work?
couple of times we've done 3 p.m. because
Okay.
it's just the end of the noon games and just the
Perfect.
beginning of the afternoon games. So it's a great time.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be great for me.
Wait, so 3 o'clock
So yeah, for 3 Central. 3
Central. Okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say
Yep.
either way works, but 3
Yeah, no,
Central.
3 Central is perfect.
Cookie's been on every time, so shout out for Cookie because he's the
Nice.
one that kind of spearheaded this and thought it'd be a good idea. And both the times that I showed up, it was a ton of fun. Like even if it's
Awesome.
just four guys chatting with the game on
Dude, I'm
and
in.
just it's shooting the shit.
Yep.
Right?
That's perfect. I love it.
That's awesome. I should be home. I'm actually going to a bachelor party this weekend, but I think that we're supposed to be home on Sunday by like 2, like between noon and 2. And so if it gets a little long that way, I might join late or just tell
Sure.
people. But I'll make sure if you are listening to this, join the happy hour this week because Luke will be on and it will be amazing. It'll be so much fun. It is a lot of fun though. And
absolutely.
I realized when I hit record basically that I did not figure out who won last week. And so I've had like a really busy week.
Yeah.
And I'll figure it out after this, I promise. But you do have 3 choices for how you'd like the weekly bets to go.
Okay.
You can roll the dice, which is 1 of 10 options. We've seen them a few times. Call your shot, which is a player or make everyone do a position for the player, whatever it is. And then pick'ems is the confidence pick pool where you get the points.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was a
Yep,
little
yep.
bit of confusion before. If you put 15 as your confidence, you get those 15 points if they win.
Mhm.
Perfect. So which one of the three would you like to do?
You know, going back to our TI days, I'm a big fan of gambling, so let's roll the dice.
I thought you might say that. That is beautiful. Okay. So I have a dice here. I have it pulled up somewhere here. It must be, yep, right here. I will share the screen just to make sure everyone can see it. And so last week was worst quarterback, tight end, and defense together. I will find that out. But this week is a 5. Most TDs, all positions, all starting
All
positions.
right.
Well, this is also it's been fun because we've kind of allowed the guests to manipulate it a little bit. It has to still be within the vein of what it is, but most TDs, all positions, it doesn't stay if it's starting the entire team. What would you like to do? Do you have any changes or specifications that you want it to be?
Uh let's go. Can we go just across the board, top to bottom, starting,
As in
bench, everybody?
starting and bench,
Yep.
most TDs. I freaking love it.
Let's
That
go.
is that is the ultimate that is the ultimate perfect like leveler, because if you have if you started the wrong guy and you lost by 5 points because
Yeah, like
that
when I
guy
had Gabe
scored 3
Davis sitting on my
touchdowns.
bench last
Yeah.
week, you know.
Didn't he have
Oh,
3
God.
receptions for 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, 3 receptions, only 2 touchdowns, but it's for like
only 2.
170. Oh, only 2, you know, for like 170 some yards. So gotta love it.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Well, no, that's perfect. And so I will, for whoever wins, if you know that your quarterback sucked, your defense screwed you, and your kicker missed a couple, you got money coming your way if you played. And so
Gotta love it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Do you have anything you want as a sign off?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the actually, I did have one question.
Yeah, please.
What is your I always notice you got what's your go-to whiskey these days?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking. So I have the one that I've been buying is High West Double Rye.
Ooh, okay.
For I think it's so I buy them at Costco, but I think it's under $30 and it's great. It's 100 proof. A little goes
Like
a
it.
long ways, and there's a ton of flavor. A little bit peppery with some of that like sweet butterscotchy flavor to it. But the one that I found, if you have not gone to Costco yet and seen this bottle, it's Dickel barreled in bond 100 proof, and it is the best whiskey I've ever had. They have it at Costco for $45 or $47 a bottle. But I bought one, and we had kind of like a guys' night with my dad, my brother-in-law. We were playing pool. I brought that bottle over because I knew it would be good, and like it was more than half gone by the end of the night. And it's like, this is so good that
everybody loved it.
Great. And so we all talked, and it was just like, hey, Tim, go and get a case of that. I like case is still like $500, but it was just like, my dad was basically like, we have to have it in the house when people come over. Like, we want to make sure. And I looked it up, and I think it's like a $75 or $80 bottle. And so it's like $25 off. And so we were pretty happy with that. But that is usually what I'm sipping on. What kind of whiskey were you sipping on?
So I just have Bullet here. But yeah, I'd say it might just be like moving out to California. I drink a lot of wine now, honestly, compared to like certainly what I used to and stuff. And some of it too is Allison is a food scientist, and so like she's like loves wine and like really gets into like she knows a lot about wine.
Right.
So I've
she's
through
into the tannins and
exactly.
Everything
You know, the notes of everything, and I don't know anything like that, but just through osmosis, I picked up some of that.
100%.
So we've done a lot of wine tasting stuff, but there's some distilleries out here too that we've gone to, just local ones and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I love really good whiskey and stuff, and
Yeah,
you
and
just
I
can't
bet
beat
that
it.
you can
So
get very well priced wine out there as well. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yep.
I
Yep.
know the last time that we were out there, we did like one of the bus tours that goes from San Francisco and just does like 5 in Sonoma.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
so
nice.
we
Yeah.
ended up doing that, and it was like their like house $10 a bottle was like some of the best
Oh
wine that I've
yeah,
had.
definitely. Yep.
So
Yeah,
good.
you can
Yeah.
get some crazy good deals. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I
It's
think
really
we went
good.
to a place and had a case shipped over, and I think including shipping, it came out to like $14 a bottle.
Oh gosh,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's hard to say
Hmm.
no to that. Where it's
Hmm.
like you can get almost like $2 chuck over here, where you're
Hmm.
trying something out, and it's like that was bad, and that was
Hmm.
$15.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff. So yeah, it's been great.
that's good, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat,
Yeah.
and I
And thank you,
know,
Burgard, seriously, for putting this all together. Like I said, and some of it might be just again for me or like Rizzo or somebody, but like it's been so much fun not only to like see everybody, but just to, like hear people and stuff. And
yeah,
it's just different, of course, from like a text and a chat and stuff. And it's been a
it
really fun
really
way.
really
It's been
is.
really a fun way. So I have
I'm
to always taking the league to the next level, and I think this has been an awesome addition. So I
well,
look forward to many more in the future.
this one they couldn't say no, right? The other ones
Yeah.
they have
Yep.
to be implemented. This one it's just like
Yeah.
you're gonna talk to me for an hour. Yeah.
Yep. I love it.
No, I'm really like I'm really glad that people are enjoying it, and I really
Mhm.
enjoy it. Like if anyone thinks that I prepare for these, I pull up documents like a half an hour early, look through
Mhm.
stuff, and then like we just talk. That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. I had some literally. I told Allison earlier today. I was like, "Yeah, like Bernard asks really good questions. Like he
Oh,
just
thank you.
like you're total natural at this, man. It's really
I
good." So.
it's got to be like I was talking to someone today, and they were just like they kind of said a similar thing like, man,
Mhm.
it seems like it's you got all the information that you needed. It was so easy. It was just like
Mhm.
I work in restaurants for so long, you just have
Mhm.
conversations with complete strangers at all times, and then
Mhm.
it's like at the end they're just like, oh, that's so great, and then they walk away and it's just
Mhm.
like, yeah, I never learned their name, don't know who they
Mhm.
are, but it's just
Mhm.
like I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it as much as I
Yeah.
am. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. Definitely, man. I love it.
Right on. All
Do you
right.
have a second too after we hang up? I just love to kind of hear chat for just a minute one
Yeah,
on one. And
you got it.
awesome. Sweet.
Uh,
Sounds great.
uh, for everyone else, don't forget to live, laugh, and love.
Woo.